Hello and welcome to 7thAce's 2v2 tournament. We've got 16 players, 8 teams, ready to battle it out for an awesome time here. Thank you everybody for joining us. It is wonderful to be here. Joining me today in the commentary booth right over there, it is Ektar. Ektar, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited because I haven't seen anybody else really putting on any 2v2 in a tournament setting. I've caught a couple of streams, and honestly, this beta is the only thing that I've played in this game, and I think it's a lot of fun, so I'm really excited to showcase this today.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we are going to get right into it in game number 1 of our round 1. It is going to be a lot of games, so let's get this going real quick here. Game 1. Oh, I didn't go over the bracket. Let's go over the bracket real fast. Woo! Hit that button. Bracket. Here is the bracket. We've got, right now, Banter Boys versus the Bingle Aces. After that, we'll have Aftermath against Orbital Candy Laser, Behemoth Abusers against URXP Third, and Team Gouda versus Astra as game number 4. So we'll be starting off with Banter Boys versus Bingle Aces as soon as we load in.
Nugify and his partner have currently got the top ranking in the 2v2 against Bingle Aces, who, obviously not the top rank, but still a very strong team. They have both wrecked us on the ladder pretty repeatedly.
All right, let's get out of here. All right, so there are no restrictions on the decks available to the teams. We do see a 2-base play so far out of Samoge and I Do Not Exist. And actually, we should probably do player introductions. Let's do that. In the bottom left, in the blue and green, we have the Banter Boys with Nugify and Knight. Although, I don't know if they were entirely prepared, as they are currently doing nothing. But top right.
Yeah, and the top right we have Samoge and I Do Not Exist, who are currently rushing out a bunch of Scorpions and going for a double expand. I think we might end up needing to do a remake, though, as Knight and Nugify have produced 0 units, structures, and or upgrades.
Yeah, we might have to re-roll this one back. We have zoom commands. We do not. It does appear like they are a bit AFK, and I don't think we're exactly going to go with that. Let me do have some messages real quick. Teammate isn't in-game. Didn't make it into...
Oh, I actually saw something like this kind of happen on stream earlier, where only one of the two made it.
Okay. We will go ahead and recreate this one. Well, nothing goes without its hitches.
David Kim, we found a bug.
Alright, let's try this again.
I think we're pretty much going to be operating under the assumption that if a team doesn't produce anything for 10 seconds... probably there was a bug in the lobby.
Yeah, we're going to assume such a thing. Sounds good.
All right, we've got everyone in the lobby very quickly. That seems to indicate that at least that they're at their computers and ready to play the game.
All right, we are going to try and get back into this. Boom! Hit the go button. And let's see if we've got a game. We loaded in much quicker. Let's see if that'll do it. We have bases. All right, let's make this the official start. In the bottom left corner, in the blue and green, we have the Banter Boys, played by Nugify and Knight.
And in the top right, we have Bingle Aces with Samoge and I Do Not Exist in the autumn colors.
Ooh, I like it. Spring and autumn colors is actually a great way of going about it. Let's take a look at a bit of the decks that these players have brought. We do see Recall and Scorps for our bottom left team here for the Banter Boys.
And also the top right. Yeah. In fact, the only difference is that we have Knights for I Do Not Exist and Recall Hunters for Nugify. So double tier 1 anti-air for the bottom left team and single anti-air for the top right team, as both teams are going into very quick third bases, but only for one.
Appreciate it, JXP. Thank you for the raid. Good luck later. JXP will be playing in our third match here in an hour or something. So,
we can
welcome.
see Nugify going into the quick mortar, which absolutely ruins all of the tier 1 that the Bingle Aces have. And we have Mammoths, which are kind of more of a jack-of-all-trades big unit, very good at soaking damage, a little bit less good at tearing through units themselves.
Yeah, that's entirely correct. We also see I Do Not Exist going for Bombers. Bombers have been a lot more meta in this beta session. I didn't check all the stat changes, but I'm seeing a lot of Bomber play, both in 1v1 and in some of the 2v2 games. So there's really nice to see that coming in.
I think Bombers are quite strong in 2v2 specifically, especially before other Splash comes out, which, you know, unfortunately for them, the mortar is already being produced for the side of Banter Boys, but the Bombers are very good against all of the tier 1 except for Knights and Crossbows, I think, but only I Do Not Exist has a Knight. But I think the mortar is really the unit that is telling most of the tale right now, because a couple of great shots in against these recalls.
Yeah, these mortars are set up with their, I believe, 22 range. They can really bring a lot of pain, but the Mammoths here are able to soak a lot of shots should it be necessary. Now, this isn't a major commitment of mortars. There's only 2 of them that I see right now as we see this poking commence, and there is a large advantage here. Also, Butterflies in for Knight are dealing a lot of damage. The Hornets will come in, and they do very well against these flying Butterflies here, but having to play around those ranges is hard, as there is a large matter unit advantage right now for the Banter Boys.
There's a pretty big defense contingent over on the natural side for the Autumn Colors. However, their opponents actually expanded into the top left as well, so even though that fight didn't actually end up doing enough damage to close out the game entirely, they took out one base and double expanded behind it. So if they can hold on to all of these bases, they're going to be in a great spot. But Samoge and I Do Not Exist both have gone into their tier 3 units. They're going to make for a big push here.
Artillery and Predators are really good. Double Splash Artillery is extremely good against ground units. Predators extremely good against air units. So
all of the Butterflies
those
just got taken out as well.
Ooh.
So the air to ground is much reduced for the side of Nugify and Knight.
Yeah, you're totally right, Ektar. That's a really important point, and we're going to have to see what the response is. Snipers would be the logical response, as well as advanced blinks coming out. They're going to move to the
advanced
bottom right.
blinks actually going into the bottom right, trying to snipe this base out. They actually got nerfed recently in their capability to snipe bases out, and it is going to make a big difference as this base doesn't even drop below half.
Yeah, this is kind of a great positional game so far. Bandwidth for both teams looking at fairly decent, although higher for the Banter Boys here, sitting about 100 or about 300 combined bandwidth. Only about 200 for the Autumn team. So with this push, now advanced destroyers are coming in. They are going to shell the enemy forces. Bombers are going to take out 3 of them, but there's still like 10 more to go.
Yeah, I think the composition here is maybe slightly in favor for the side of Bingle Aces, but just being down bases for this long is really getting a lot of economic advantage to the Banter Boys as they continue to rally push onto this third and put more advanced blinks into the bottom right.
Yeah, bottom right is being harassed, and with this base advantage, this would be massive. Advanced blinks are going to take out one base, while the advanced destroyers just slowly gain this incremental advantage, and 5th base taken for Nugify here in the top.
The Assault Bot's doing a great job of trying to take out these advanced destroyers, cutting them down to only 2, but I think that the mortars have been here for a really long time, just have not been touched. There were a number of snipers, but I think they got taken out. So really good trying to fight back for the side of Bingle Aces, but just continuing to be down bases is putting them into a really tough spot.
Oh, even some bomber harass was denied at the top by pre-positioned mortars at the 4th base there. Nugify and Knight are on top of it right now as they start pushing closer and closer to this main base choke point.
Yeah, the advanced destroyers have I think 23 range, tied with the snipers for the longest range in the game. It's really hard for Samoge and I Do Not Exist to try and trade into, and we can see as their main gets pushed onto, there just is not an answer.
No, this is looking grim. Teams, now, an important part of 2v2 is that teams can work through their strategy, take some extra time to think about what has occurred, so, you know, taking this extra time is possibly what's going on here, and game number 1 will go to the Banter boys.
Nice GG spray coming out right at the end there.
Good game 1 there. That's what 2v2's about. It's really kind of chaotic. There's a lot of fun things to be done.
There's a lot of ebb and flow between how many bases do you take, which players are expanding. There's been a number of times where I'll be up on 3 bases and you've only been on 1, but you're also teching to advance Starforge. And so there's a lot on working with your teammate to make sure that you're getting ahead where you can while still covering all your bases.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a big part of it. All right, teams are in the lobby. We're just going to hit the go button and get ourselves into game number 2 here, assuming it loads and everybody makes it. Looks like we're in good shape.
We're actually seeing a deck switch up from the Bingle Aces, as they don't think they had Crusader in the previous game.
No, it doesn't.
Double Bomber now, so very different play coming out here. Double expand and double expand, so both going with the same tech options. Actually, Knight going for something very different as well. Totally different deck switch up from both teams.
Excellent. Yeah, you're allowed to save up to 3 decks in the UI, and you can obviously just change a bunch of other stuff too, but given that these teams have been knew that they're going to be in the tournament for a while now, they could have multiple decks just prepared, fully synergistic, and ready to go.
Yeah, Wasps are doing what they can to try and shark around, find damage. They're really weak individually, but they're so fast that they can just surround and get units out of position very easily, and having a ranged unit from your ally to provide that extra damage is very strong.
Yeah, we see some harassment out towards the natural, but again, good walling here from Samo is going to keep the team safe. So again, with all of this mobility, Wasp Blink, there's just going to be a big defensive posture here required for the Bingle Aces to be able to kind of move into the mid game as they are teching towards the Mammoth and the Butterfly. Meanwhile, Nugify and Knight, Mortar Butterfly.
We did see Knight go into a Knight go into a slightly earlier expansion than Nugify, so they're trying to eke out that little economic feed before getting their tech online. We have just now the expansions coming down for Samoge and I Do Not Exist. The Wasps are finding a big surround here, but we have the Knights that are coming out to provide that extra DPS support.
Yep, the Foundry tech has popped, and we can see, yeah, this kind of mid-game of Bingle Aces is starting to push away the initial pressure. Again, that wall of Scorpions doing a lot. Recalls are now allowing the 3rd position to be taken, and the push is on, at least for a little bit, while the Bingle Boys take a little bit of time to get their tech online.
Yeah, the Wasps are so good at finding those surround. Again, not so strong in the straight-up engagements. The Mortars are here. They don't do a lot of damage against the Mammoths that are holding the front line here, and the recalls are still very powerful, as this break push has started for the side of Bingle Aces, but it looks like they're going to give up a little bit of position, and that is exactly where the Wasps want your opponent to be.
Yeah, the Butterflies have come in and completely busted this push. The Bingle Aces did not have their transition out in time to cover the Starforge tech, and now they are running, the Butterflies are running free against these Crusaders. Look at them just Mammoths, look at them disappear.
Yeah, the Blinks are going to get on top of all of the enemy forces, and Hornets are a great unit, but they're not so good at fighting against the ground as you see them. First of the thirds go down for the side of Bingle, and the second one is going to go down. There's a run-by in the natural expansion. Really good hold position is going to stop that from doing a lot of damage. But there's just enough Wasps that they're going to get into the middle of the worker line if they're not careful.
Yeah, we see a huge bandwidth lead right now. Combined 100 and almost 200 now bandwidth for our spring team, and just sitting at 60 combined for the autumn team, so not in a great spot overall. This could be the push that breaks it. Wasp's attempting to get a surround while the blinks come in, and that is game number 2 going over to Banter Boys. Analysis
Really
of
nice
that.
I was gonna say, really nicely played. The Wasps were all over the place.
Yeah, I mean,
constantly pulling resources around, pulling the recalls over to the natural expansion, which allowed the ally blinks to go forward and hit the recalls. Just really clean play coming out from both teams.
Nope, fast lobby restarts. I'm liking the pace of this so far. We're going to start into game number 3 here. Banter Boys up 2-0 in this first round match.
As a competitive Smash enjoyer, I'm really enjoying how quickly we get from game to game in Battle Aces. It's a huge boon to the game just as a whole. As we see, I think this is a return to the original deck from the Bingle Aces.
I don't know. Inverted drag scroll. Is there no drag scroll slider out of curiosity? It seems very sensitive. Let me see if this will do the same thing. Yeah, that's way better for me. Okay, cool. Let me actually modify that a slight bit more. Apologies, I've actually never spectated before exactly this. Beautiful. Oh, this is going to be so much smoother and better on my wrist.
Just, not this game specifically.
Yeah, I've done a little bit. Ektar and I have a big background in Heroes of the Storm and in StarCraft. That's where we met, but we've been very committed to Heroes. Third base is coming out for both teams now. And we'll see if I Don't Exist and Sam O'Gay can kind of hold this position a little bit better, as mortars are coming out once again for Nugify.
Yeah, I think that the Bingle Aces have kind of the right call in the units that they want to use. They're just getting a little bit out-controlled by their opponents, and I can attest to that being a problem, as I think we got one game that we won against Nugify and Knight because they were definitely AFK.
Yeah, that was quite helpful. So, yeah, they've been menaces against us on the ladder, to the point that we don't get queued with them a lot because they are just so much better. Mid-game techs look to be the same as last game, getting the Mammoth plus the Butterflies, and again having the third base into Butterflies for Knight.
Really good recall is going to stop these Wasps from finding anything at the natural expansion. Guardian Shield obviously helps that as well, but since the most recent round of nerfs, they don't even one-shot Wasps. So the protection offered by the shield is significantly reduced compared to its earlier incarnations. I think it definitely still has a place in 2v2 specifically. It's just kind of less of a catch-all, as the mortars are getting into position, not finding any big shots yet, but it's going to be really hard for Sam O'Gay and I Do Not Exist to defend this location as the parade push is beginning.
If there's a Battle Aces, somebody that knows when it'd be great to know if there is a zoom out function. I don't think there is, so I haven't attempted for it. I have pressed the Z key there. Butterflies are going to come in, abuse the lack of anti-air right now, are going to help take out some of these mortars. Aeronaut, thank you. Hornets are out a little bit faster here for the Bingle Aces, and it looks like this is a decent position, actually. Base is being targeted down by the Butterflies, though, and that's going to be half of the third bases taken out. There is a one of the fourth bases for each team as well, but it looks like at the end of this fight there is a slight advantage over here for the Bingle Aces, I believe.
Yeah, they've done a good job of using their Hornets to get on top of these Butterflies and take the anti-air, so their own Butterflies are doing good damage. But we actually saw just as good control coming out from Knight to keep the other section of his Butterflies in a position to snipe down the important units for the Bingle Aces. We do have the... oh god, the worst units. The... not the Valkyries, the Predators. There we go. Predators and Artillery out for both anti-air and anti-ground siege. However, the sniper is in the building and outranges all of the units currently available. for Samoge, only being met by the advanced destroyers, who meet them in range.
Oh, advanced destroyers get Blunk on at the top here. Blink's finding a lot of value, picking up 2 of the advanced destroyers. Now Wasp and Hornets moving in, taking out the remaining 2, as well as a third being pushed into, and all of a sudden, Nugify and Knight have crushed the opposing forces. GG, set number 1 goes to the Banter boys. That was extremely clean overall.
Yeah, just unbelievably well controlled and clearly practiced.
Yeah, they
Not
are.
to say that, of course, the Bingle Aces were not practiced. They looked quite good. Just, I mean,
one team
Nugify and Knight are the number one. They're the number 1 seed for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us get some new info in. We're going to have our second set coming up, so I'm going to go over to the bracket for a minute here. Again, shout out to the transition and all of the graphics made by Ecloprecious in the chat. We will have the Banter Boys moving on to the second round here. Let's see what we can do. I have all of this prepared, so don't worry. Semifinals Team 1, pointing at Team number 1. Banter Boys, show them on screen. There it is. Next game, we will have Aftermath versus Orbital Candy Laser. Stick with us. We're going to go get that set up, and we'll be right back in just a minute.